There was a note in this week's Observer newsletter that Vice TV, I guess VICELAND, I think is their channel. It said Vice TV. I can only assume that means VICELAND. Is going to be airing a series of pro wrestling documentaries starting October 19th. There are 10 of them in total. And among them will, some of the topics anyway, that they will be covering include Gino Hernandez, I guess the life and death of Gino Hernandez, as well as Dino Bravo, the Von Erichs, and Bruiser Brody. And that was all the information that was in there. I haven't been able to find anything else about this, but I think that that's really cool because those are some really interesting subjects. I know there was already a Brody documentary that people apparently said was really good. I haven't seen it yet. But these are all subjects I find fascinating, especially in terms of someone like a Gino Hernandez or a Dino Bravo, the way they died. And Gino Hernandez is often talked about. Michael Hayes has talked about him as being somebody who would have gone on to superstardom. I mean, he would have been a big, big star and had his life snuffed out very early on, overdosed on cocaine. There is some speculation that maybe there was a little more to it than that, which is why I find these stories so fascinating. And Vice has done some really good documentaries before. They're really good. So I'm really looking forward to these. And what the other ones are. I don't know what the other documentaries are. Those are only some of them. But the other thing I thought of when I read this was, this is the sort of thing that WWE really dropped the ball with. Because this is the sort of content that they should have taken the lead on with the network. And they do great documentaries. Those WWE 24 specials are really, really good. But they're primarily focused on those within the company. The Hardys came back, so they did a Hardy special. Kurt Angle came back, so they did a Kurt Angle special. They have the Women's Revolution, so they focus on the women within their own company. And that's great. And I understand them. They want to use the network as a tool to promote their own talent and to promote their own brand. They should absolutely do that. But they also, whether it's WWE 24 or WWE Exposed, come up with whatever name you want to for it. They have a lot of non-WWE content and non-wrestling stuff on that network. They could have easily taken the lead on doing specials like this. Like honest looks at different stories that are tied to the wrestling business, whether or not they tie in with WWE. And I know it's not the most glamorous subject matter, and a lot of it they probably want to stay away from where it concerns sex and drugs and murder and things of that nature, but that's what people find so fascinating, right? They could have really taken the lead on this and had documentaries like this on their own network. And instead you have ESPN and HBO and Vice doing documentaries when this should be WWE's specialty on their own network. They should be doing a special on Gino Hernandez. They should be doing a special on Bruiser Brody. Even though Bruiser Brody wasn't a WWE guy, it doesn't matter. They shouldn't be worried then. If they can objectively cover these stories, especially, I mean, the Bruiser Brody story doesn't reflect poorly on them. It absolutely reflects poorly on the wrestling industry when you read up on what happened that night and how Brody could have lived had people actually gotten up off their ass and tried to help him. I mean, some people did, a lot of people didn't. That's a very frustrating story to hear. And again, one of the reasons I'm looking forward to seeing it retold here. It's a tough story to hear. But the Bruiser Brody thing has always pissed me off. Just the way that all went down. The guy was laying on the floor 40 minutes, bleeding out. Like, that just never should have happened. But I think WWE should have been the ones to take the lead on specials and documentaries like this. And, it's their loss. I guess in some cases they're just too gutless to cover some of the content. And in other situations, I guess they just don't think that there's an appeal, to their audience. I think they're wrong. I think there would be an appeal.